Tonight, the first cases of Omicron detected on Australian soil. Authorities buying time, snap travel changes as Victoria braces for the impact of the new COVID strain. The hunt for the missing campers' bodies about to begin. We'll take you live to the search zone. An emotional tribute and an important warning. Hundreds farewell a road worker killed doing his job. Why Daniel Andrews will never fully recover from his Mornington Peninsula fall as the Premier and Opposition Leader make an early pitch for your vote. And world-first laws to target online trolls.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Mike Amor starts now.
Good evening. The new coronavirus strain is here. After being warned Omicron would eventually arrive in Australia, we've just received confirmation there's already 2 cases in Sydney. Dozens of return travellers are in isolation tonight after snap changes to border rules. Health officials buying time to assess the new threat.
Straight into a hug and straight into 3 days quarantine. Arriving from Auckland and Singapore, these travellers the first affected by overnight border changes.
To be honest, I just got to know when we landed that it's a 3-day quarantine. I didn't realise it was.
It's unclear how long the extra quarantine will be enforced. The medical world still trying to get its head around Omicron, the new variant.
The new variant is concerning. It moved from being a variant of investigation to a variant of concern within the space of 24 hours.
40 people who arrived in Victoria from Southern Africa recently are now in 14 days quarantine.
I also want to say this to Victorians. This is not back to the beginning. We are not back at square one by any means.
Household contacts of returned travellers must also isolate.
It's a bit heavy-handed.
It is what it is.
It is what it is, I guess.
They can change it tomorrow again, can't they?
Modest, cautious steps to ensure that we can buy ourselves some time.
Late today, New South Wales confirming 2 overseas travellers have tested positive to the new variant. Israel has banned all international visitors in response to Omicron. Cases confirmed in the UK, Germany and Italy. And in Amsterdam, passengers on this plane held for hours after landing.
The Johannesburg flight and also our Cape Town flight cannot enter the Netherlands.
But early observations from South African doctors show there are no prominent symptoms with Omicron. Just sore muscles and tiredness for a day or two, not feeling well. So far, we have detected those infected do not suffer loss of taste or smell.
The key questions really are, is it more transmissible and how transmissible exactly is it? It certainly seems to have spread very quickly in Southern Africa.
And disappointment from the South African government, claiming travel bans punish South Africa for its advanced genomic sequencing and the ability to detect new variants quicker. Excellent science should be applauded, not punished. This is what the Mickleham quarantine facility looks like. Dozens of workers building it, even on a Sunday. Construction now fast-tracked.
The most recent advice I have is that it continues to be on schedule with the opportunities for, at best, late December and at least in early January.
7 months ago, it was a grass field. It'll soon open with enough room for 250 people, eventually 1,000. Vaccine booster bookings are available at state hubs, pharmacies and GPs. The advice, don't wait.
If you're due now, please book in for your booster dose. It provides significantly better protection, even from the very good protection that a second dose provides.
Our Chief Health Officer expects the Omicron variant to eventually spread worldwide. He blames the gap in vaccine equity between rich countries and poor. Until developed nations are more vaccinated, he says new strains will likely appear again.
And Blake, more cases of the new strain are likely.
Mike, those 2 cases in New South Wales could be added to. We await the results of one person at the Howard Springs Centre in Darwin, where the virus has actually spread between people in isolation there. In Sydney, all 260 people on the same flight as the 2 that came back with that new strain will have to isolate for the next 2 weeks. In Victoria, no cases yet. The extra quarantine requirements will be reviewed in a couple of days.
Blake, thank you. The Omicron spread has Australian Open organisers worried. Estelle Griepink is at Melbourne Park. And Estelle, our major event organisers are a little nervous.
Well, Mike, you can't blame them. The Australian Open is just weeks away. Now, there are concerns this new variant could cause delays or even force tourists and star players to have to quarantine when they arrive in Victoria. Tennis Australia CEO Craig Tiley says at this early stage there are a lot of unanswered questions, but for the moment everything is planned to go on track with 100% crowd capacity at Melbourne Park. He's also reminded that tennis fans, tickets are fully refundable, so that will be okay if the event is postponed. And Mike, cricket officials are also keeping a close eye on these developments as they're hoping for full crowd capacity at the Boxing Day Ashes Test. Mike?
Estelle, thank you. A specialist police search team is tonight gathering in remote East Gippsland, ready to begin the hunt for the remains of campers Carol Clay and Russell Hill. Detectives are armed with vital information to navigate the rugged bushland.
This mountainous terrain could unlock the secrets of a camping murder mystery. A specialist team led by missing persons detectives, forensic police and local officers ready to scour thick bushland for the remains of slain campers Russell Hill and Carol Clay.
Police have gone to this area because they must have had intelligence to indicate that this area does require a full forensic search.
7 News understands investigators are targeting a very specific region. That vital information gleaned from the 4 days of questioning of Jetstar pilot Gregory Lynn. The 55-year-old was charged with the campers' murder on Thursday night and is now behind bars.
20 months later, the police are probably looking for skeletal remains at this stage.
Police are also hunting for Russell Hill's drone. It was used in the hours before his disappearance but still hasn't been found despite a warrant to search Gregory Lynn's home. The new area of interest is 30 kilometres from the campsite where the pair last made contact. Grand Historic Area is home to old gold fields.
When they get into an area like this, they need local knowledge, so I could probably get up there and pinpoint 10 mines within 400 metres of that township. You know, that could be a possible team. I think they'll work it out pretty quick.
It's going to be a particularly difficult search given the terrain that they're looking at. It's very steep, it's very unforgiving, it's very dense.
It's hoped tomorrow will bring some answers after so many months of mystery.
Let's keep our fingers crossed because the families of these victims need answers.
And Hope Wilson is in Dargo tonight, and Hope, weather conditions have improved for tomorrow's search.
Well, Mike, it was feared this weekend's wet and foggy weather would hinder the search for a possible burial site in this remote alpine region. Clear skies are forecast for tomorrow for this next phase of important police work due to start early tomorrow afternoon. And police are confident it will bring another breakthrough in this high-profile case. Mike?
Hope Wilson live in Dargo. Thank you. The widow of a road worker killed in a hit-run tragedy while doing his job has led mourners in an emotional memorial motorcade in Melbourne's southeast. Also there, Timmy Raquet's injured colleague who survived the crash.
A family's grief laid bare, mourning a beloved husband, father and grandfather gone too soon.
Our lives will never be the same again.
Uniting with hundreds of workmates and traffic controllers in a motorcade memorial, honouring 44-year-old Timmy Raquet.
It actually makes me happy seeing everyone and all the hearts he touched.
The convoy moving from Dandenong to Beaconsfield.
You don't get those morning texts. He would even FaceTime his daughter before she went to school every day. She doesn't get that anymore. She still tries to call him on her messenger, and that's heartbreaking.
Sean Kilmartin was working alongside Timmy in Carrum Downs earlier this month when they were struck by a car. Sean suffered severe leg injuries but will fully recover. The alleged runaway driver is facing more than a dozen charges.
We're angry. We're so angry.
As well as honouring Timmy, this moving tribute is also hoped to serve as a reminder for all drivers to slow down and obey roadwork regulations.
We matter too, to slow down when they see us. Like, we don't have any authority on the road apart from taking out a lane.
We just want people to stay safe out there. We want these guys to go home to their families. We just don't want them to be in the position that we are now.
Sarah Jones, 7 News.
A gunman has terrorised the New South Wales city of Wollongong, firing shots towards pedestrians and cars. Frightened residents and workers found cover as the man took hostages before his dramatic arrest.
There are any number of things that make this image so disturbing. Not just the rifle, but the black combat gear which showed a mindset to use it. And he did, but perhaps most confronting is how casual Simon Fleming was, strolling through the middle of Windang knowing what the response would be.
What the f*** going on?
They were everywhere.
To be honest, I'm scared.
Police allege Fleming had fired a number of shots towards pedestrians and cars, that at least 2 vehicles were hit before a siege around the local dive shop where 2 employees were inside.
I was a bit nervous. I was thinking, what's going on? Then I heard that there was hostages.
One worker escaped. Police say they convinced Fleming to release the second worker, uninjured but shaken. Carissa Stoddard enjoyed the warm embrace of her children this afternoon.
Now I'll never let go!
She had been managing Oh Dang Cafe just metres away when the shots were fired.
I've never been so terrified in my life.
The siege lasted only a short time. 40-year-old Fleming surrendered peacefully, no injuries to him, police or anybody else. Robert Ovadia, 7 News.
Daniel Andrews admits he'll never fully recover from his fall on the Mornington Peninsula, although scans last week confirmed his back has fully healed.
Ribs are still a little bit dicey, but I know a bit stiff. It's not quite the same. It'll never be the same as it was.
Later on 7 News, State Political Editor Charnel Vella talks one-on-one with the Premier and Opposition Leader Matthew Guy, a year out from what looms as a fierce election. Social media trolls who hide behind fake names and profiles to abuse and defame will be unmasked under new federal laws. The world-first legislation will force platforms like Facebook and Twitter to identify culprits or risk being punished themselves.
Dolly Everett was just 14 when she took her life, a victim of relentless bullying.
I don't think anybody would ever be able to measure the damage that happens online.
It's kids like Dolly and his own daughter Abby Scott Morrison says he's trying to protect.
If we don't ensure that the rules in the real world applies in the digital world, this will keep happening.
Giving social media companies a kick, making them accountable for the material posted on their platforms, forcing them to set up a complaints process for victims so harmful and defamatory comments can be taken down quickly, and giving new powers to the courts to compel tech giants to hand over details like phone numbers or email addresses to unmasked trolls, or they'll be on the hook for defamation payouts.
You should not be able to use the cloak of online anonymity to spread your vile, defamatory comments.
The online world shouldn't be a Wild West where bots and bigots and trolls and others can just anonymously going around and harm people and hurt people.
The Prime Minister is so determined to send a message to these platforms. He says the government is actively looking for test cases and is prepared to spend taxpayers' money supporting victims through the court process.
They've created this space and they need to make it safe. And if they won't, we will make them.
World first laws, so there are no more tragedies like Dolly's.
Anything that strengthens a safer online experience is very welcome.
Rob Scott, 7 News.
A gun trafficking bust has led to 11 arrests in and near the Latrobe Valley. Police swooped on 10 properties from Pakenham to Moe, seizing firearms, ammunition, drugs and cash. 11 men were arrested, aged from 27 to 63. Detectives say they've been running a 4-month investigation into gun and drug trafficking in the state's east. It's hoped tensions in the Solomon Islands are beginning to ease, with locals cleaning up following days of rioting and looting. Still, Australia's presence in the region is ramping up.
Calm in the city of Honiara.
A very beautiful afternoon back here in Solomon Islands.
As locals clean up following riots in the heart of the island nation. Streets now relatively quiet.
As of this moment, I think the road is clear, peaceful naman.
In stark contrast to just days ago. At least 3 people have been found dead among the charred ruins, with around 100 others arrested, as the Australian Defence Force helps keep the peace.
The situation in the Solomon Islands is very volatile.
New South Wales Police are also stepping up, helping our Pacific neighbour.
Their job will be to restore public order, which is something you see day to day.
Deploying 15 officers.
1 inspector, who will be a tactical commander, 2 sergeants and 12 constables.
Already trained in dealing with protests on home soil.
Everybody else is thinking about Christmas. They're putting their lives at danger.
The officers will head to Honiara in the coming days.
We are just simply there as a good family member to try and provide a stable and safe environment for the issues that are there in the Solomon Islands to be peacefully worked through.
Matthew Carstunen, 7 News.
The state government's being asked to help fund a COVID-safe version of the St Kilda Festival. Instead of the traditional one-day event, Port Phillip Council is planning a 9-day festival across 3 areas in early February. The state opposition says they need certainty and insurance.
The events industry hasn't had a plan from the government in terms of what they're able to do, particularly when you don't have gated, ticketed events.
The council wants $250,000 to help with barriers, check-in systems and COVID marshals. Marcus Bontempelli is playing a major role in the mentoring of a much-hyped Bulldogs. Jackie Felgate, a new bromance is blooming at the kennel.
A bromance indeed, Mike, yes. The Bont has taken Jamari Ugle-Hagan under his wing. Coming up, the #1 draft pick reveals the tough love helping him go to the next level.
You don't see him as like the Bont, you see him as like your best mate, like your older brother, because he just pushes me so much.
Plus, they say timing is everything, and Alex Carey couldn't have timed his Ashes run any better. The feather Taj, which left a soccer star down for the count. And Mike, a sleeping giant of Aussie sport, is starting to awaken from its slumber. I'll have more on that soon.
OK, thanks, Jack. See you soon. The COVID pressure on Melbourne's hospitals is easing. Up next, how our health system is defying dire modelling. Also, what sparked violence on a Caribbean island? More evacuations, floodwaters rise in parts of New South Wales. And later, Big Brother is watching, calls for updated privacy laws. And the tiny device stopping debilitating seizures. 2 special reports still to come on 7 News. Police are pleading for help to find a missing 12-year-old girl. Relatives say Sarah's disappearance is out of character. She was last seen at a Broadmeadows home around 11 last night wearing a red cardigan and blue jeans. Revised modelling suggests a second COVID peak predicted for December may not be as bad as originally forecast. Public hospitals in Melbourne are now scaling down their COVID wards, but there's no update on when elective surgery will resume.
As Victoria passes the 90% vaccination milestone, some of Melbourne's COVID wards are being scaled down. The Royal Melbourne and the Austin are temporarily closing entire wards to care for other patients. And the latest modelling suggests there's reason for hope.
It's good news for our health system, I think, if we continue to track as the revised Burnett modelling suggests.
A second peak of the Delta strain forecast for December is not expected to be as bad as originally predicted.
There's good news out of that, but we don't want to just sit back and say 1,000 cases is okay. There are still people dying with that caseload every day.
Victoria today recording 1,061 new cases, 283 people now in hospital. The 7-day average of hospital admissions continues to fall. Almost 91% of the population aged over 12 is now double jabbed.
That means that we are about as resistant as we can be to the Delta variant of COVID. It means that we should enjoy the freedoms that we have not been able to enjoy for such a long time.
Even a small increase in COVID patients will place strain on intensive care wards. There are still close to 100 ICU patients suffering complications. Most are not vaccinated.
Now, those people are in there for weeks. They are hanging on to life by the thread of a needle.
Elective surgery remains on hold at metropolitan public hospitals unless the operation is considered urgent. But from tomorrow, regional public hospitals will resume up to 50% of their normal elective surgery intake. The state government is expected to announce increases to elective surgery in coming weeks. Emma O'Sullivan, 7 News.
Violence has broken out on the French Caribbean island of Martinique with riots against COVID restrictions. Protesters set fire to a police station and used a digger to break into a post office and rip the ATM from the wall. A deadline for mandatory vaccination of health workers in the French Caribbean has been postponed, with some locals calling the mandate a throwback to France's slavery era. And 5 people have been held in custody over a mine explosion that killed at least 51 people in Russia. Crews have also carried out a new search of the coal mine looking for any survivors. It's the country's worst disaster since 2010. Towns across the New South Wales Hunter region are being evacuated as floodwaters rise. Heavy rain has lashed the state for almost a week, and the threat isn't over yet.
No way in or out. The Merrick family cut off. Roads around their property flooded.
Pretty close. We had a bit of a sleepless night. It's not our first rodeo, so we went to town yesterday and got supplies and water.
The Hunter River peaked around 12.7 metres, well under the 13.5 metre peak that was predicted.
We are very grateful and very thankful that this is the height that we've received and we're stuck in that moderate flood level.
But there were still 300 calls for help across New South Wales overnight.
In the last 24 hours, we've had 12 flood rescues. That brings that, in respect of this operation, to around 120.
The Namoi River and the Lachlan River are the ones of most concern.
In the Hunter, Rosita and David Sanders' property is surrounded, but the wet weather in what is usually dry country is a cause for celebration.
We woke up this morning with water views, so it was a little bit different this morning.
It's been raining for a few weeks now.
I will never complain about rain.
The water is now heading to Maitland, a community bracing for moderate flooding tomorrow morning. Melina Saris, 7 News.
Well, thankfully, our weather's been much more settled. Melina joins us now. Mel, we've finally had a dry weekend.
We have, Mike. This is just the beginning of a warm and sunny stretch. With blue skies and sunshine, the city made it to 22 degrees this afternoon. It was even warmer around the suburbs. 25 at Yarra Glen, 24 at Watsonia and Scoresby. A high's in control, so our sunny stretch continues. I'll tell you how long it'll last right after sport, Mike.
Hopefully a long time. Thanks, Mel. More than ever before, everywhere you go, cameras are watching. Next on 7 News, urgent calls for updated laws to protect your privacy. Also, arson suspected. Fire breaks out at a quarantine hotel. How the world's reacting to the spread of the Omicron strain. And the cancer-fighting medicine now available to more Australians. There are urgent calls for a review of our privacy laws to stop our data being taken without our permission. We're being warned the era of mass surveillance is putting our identity at risk.
The technology made famous by science fiction movies is now a regular part of our daily life, but legal experts are worried about what it means for our privacy.
It's not far-fetched to imagine that right now video cameras around Australia are being used to take our data and then match that with in a facial recognition database.
We don't know where our face is or how it's going to be used.
Facebook was forced to pay more than $900 million to settle privacy complaints this year. It's recently announced it would stop using its facial recognition feature.
The golden rule for all of us is what's in the terms and conditions.
Tech experts are concerned about what's being collected without us knowing.
The worst case scenario is probably you being committed for a crime that you didn't do.
Clearview AI was ordered to delete our images after Australia's Information Commissioner ruled it breached our privacy by scraping our data from the web and disclosing it through a facial recognition tool. But the organisation says it hasn't violated any law.
Australian businesses can't just take our personal information without our consent and use it to spy on us. It's about as simple as that.
While there are privacy laws to protect the use of our information, legal experts say they aren't specific to facial recognition and urgently need reviewing.
We shouldn't have databases with any biometric data unless it's government owned or controlled.
Ashley Kanowski, 7 News.
Federal MP Bob Katter has reportedly been denied entry into a pub. It's understood Mr Katter failed to show his vaccine credentials at the Tamworth Hotel this afternoon. Staff were seen following the MP out of the pub before he got into a taxi and drove away. A woman in hotel quarantine will face court after allegedly starting a fire inside her room. 163 guests isolating inside the Cairns Pacific Hotel in far north Queensland were forced to evacuate this morning as flames tore through the top level of the building. The 31-year-old local has been charged with arson and willful damage. The new COVID variant is rapidly spreading around the world. Experts warn Omicron will seep into more countries in the next few days, despite tightened global measures to stop the spread.
For Britons, a familiar routine. A new COVID strain has arrived in the UK.
This variant is spreading around the world, with 2 cases so far identified here in the UK. We need to buy time for our scientists to understand exactly what we're dealing with.
No lockdown, but a return of mask wearing. And anyone entering the UK must have a PCR test and self-isolate until their result. The Prime Minister also delivered a festive promise.
I'm pretty confident, or absolutely confident, this Christmas will be considerably better than last.
World leaders are desperately trying to halt the spread of Omicron. Tightened restrictions and rush travel bans from the epicentre in South Africa. But the strain is already on the move, with cases also recorded in Italy, Germany and the Czech Republic.
We expect the numbers to continue to rise, and the numbers of countries that will be reporting this will continue to rise. That is, I think, virtually inevitable.
Theoretically, this new variant, it may transmit to more people, but if it doesn't cause severe disease at all, it may act as a vaccine in its own right.
An anxious wait in the Netherlands, a country already struggling with record infections. More than 60 passengers from South Africa now have COVID, yet to find out if it's in fact the new strain. In London, Tegan Dolling, 7 News.
A revolutionary leukemia drug that forces cancer cells to self-destruct has been put on the PBS. The move slashes the treatment costs from $88,000 a year to less than $7 a script.
After being diagnosed with a rare blood cancer, 80-year-old Les was told he had just months to live.
It was really earth-shattering news to me.
But a miracle drug developed in Australia has helped him defy the odds.
A full 12 months that I've been in remission.
Venetoclax works by tricking leukemia cells into activating a self-destruct button. It's an ideal treatment for sufferers of acute myeloid leukemia, most of whom are older Australians.
In combination with low-dose chemotherapy, 2/3 of patients will now have their bone marrow cleared of leukemia within just a few weeks.
Up until now, the therapy has been extremely expensive, but a listing on the PBS means Venetoclax is finally accessible.
Instead of $88,000 a year, it will be as little as $6.60 per script.
It's estimated more than 1,000 Australians are diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia each year. This PBS listing gives them an affordable treatment option to extend their lives.
$88,000 for most of us is out of reach, and so having affordable treatment in this space is important.
Anybody offered this drug would be foolish not to take it.
Estelle Greepink, 7 News.
The Premier has provided a rare update on his health. Next on 7 News, Daniel Andrews and Matthew Guy make an early pitch for your vote, a year out from polling day. Also, Australia's dairy industry on the rebound, thanks in part to robots. The tiny device stopping debilitating seizures. And footy's back in the name of unity. The Premier has revealed he'll suffer lifelong effects from his fall on the Mornington Peninsula. In a year's time, Daniel Andrews will again face off with Matthew Guy for a battle of the hearts and minds of Victorians. They spoke with State Political Editor Chanel Vella.
His health is in the clear.
I just had some scans last week. My back's fully healed.
But the impacts of the Premier's devastating fall are lifelong.
Ribs are still a little bit dicey, but I know a bit stiff, it's not quite the same, it'll never be the same as it was.
However, when it comes to staying in the top job, do you have the energy to keep going?
Yeah, I do. I'm absolutely committed to finishing this job. There's still unfinished business, there's still things to build and things to reform.
A year out from the state election, the Premier says his family, who've all been targets of vile abuse, are ready for another 4 years.
We are committed, all of us, to getting on and getting this job done, and it's a great honour. Some days are more challenging than others, but there's so much more that we have to do.
6 lockdowns, vaccine mandates, confusing rules and a hotel quarantine inquiry where no one could recall who hired security guards have seen the Premier's job approval rating take a 10% hit in the last year. But he's still on track to win the November election. And as for if voters will go against him over the ongoing anti-corruption probe,
Those matters are subject to other processes, and people can make their own judgments about those issues.
the man hoping to take the state's top job is the same one who lost to Daniel Andrews in 2018.
I know what we need to do. I know we made mistakes last time, obviously. But I also know there's things we need to do to get to an election and to win it.
What the Liberal Party need to do is gain 18 seats to take government, and they've had their own set of issues. A leadership spill, a drink-driving MP and fierce criticism for standing with protesters. They say they'll focus on mental health and repairing the economy.
Every time the government overspends on a project it budgets for, that money is not able to be reinvested in other areas. There's consequences for bad management. We will actually be good at managing projects.
While Labor's upcoming campaign is about infrastructure projects, education and healthcare.
Whether it's nurse to patient ratios, training and recruiting additional staff, valuing them, always looking to support them, that's the real key. That's how we continue to grow.
And when it comes to what the two leaders stand for,
I stand for a strong Victoria, a fairer Victoria, and doing the things I said I would do. You know, I'm in this to get things done.
I stand for Victoria. I stand for this state finding its confidence again like we did in the 90s, to make Melbourne the most livable city in the world.
And as for what they think is the most important to voters,
Jobs, always. Getting people back to work, making sure that we've got investment. And, if you're employed, then you've got options. If you're employed, then you've got prospects.
Certainty. Victorians want to know that in the next 5, 10, 15 years, there's more to our state than just a few infrastructure projects being built.
Victorians will make up their own minds when they step up to polling booths in 363 days. Chanel Vella, 7 News.
There are signs the dairy industry is finally becoming profitable again. Fourth-generation dairy farmer Jake Connor almost left the industry. Now his family company has invested $2 million in robots to milk the cows.
So it goes from us running the show to the cows are running the show. So the cows are the bosses of this system.
The machines milk 350 cows twice a day. A tiny new device to help people living with epilepsy has been approved for use in Australia. The implant is designed to reduce and prevent debilitating seizures.
It's touted as the world's tiniest implantable epilepsy device, the size of a 50-cent coin. And it gives new hope to tens of thousands of Australians living with drug-resistant epilepsy.
Essentially, I drop to the ground, wherever I guess I am, and my body shakes. So everything just lets go.
Sufferers like 27-year-old Morgan experience bursts of electrical activity in their brains, described as an electrical storm. Some experience hundreds of seizures a day.
I've had many injuries from seizures. I've broken bones, I've dislocated my shoulder.
Now, after 10 years of weekly episodes, Morgan has had a Sentiva device surgically implanted. It can detect, treat and prevent her seizures. It works by stimulating a nerve in her brain, sending mild pulses to dampen down and moderate the electrical activity.
I think it is a very exciting technology. We see this in the context of a very useful weapon, if you like, in helping our patients fight against their epilepsy.
Health authorities have approved the tiny mechanism for use in Australia. The cutting-edge technology is now available to adults and children over the age of 4.
Any seizure is one too many.
To her delight, Morgan's seizures have almost stopped and she can now work and study as normal.
It's changed my life.
Jackie Quist, 7 News.
The official television ratings for 2021 ended last night with the 7 network crowned the #1 television network in Australia. Driven by an extensive schedule revamp at the start of the year, 7 dominated in total audience and the under 50s. 7 News again was Australia's most watched news source, with Sunrise recording its 18th consecutive year as #1 in the morning. CEO James Warburton highlighted the news and sports dominance and entertainment hits, with The Voice taking out the #1 entertainment show, adding, "It's great to be back at #1. 7 has now won 13 of the past 15 years, and our digital offering, 7 Plus, is also the #1 BVOD service for the second year in a row. In what's been a landmark year for 7, it's expected the network will take ownership of major regional network Prime at the end of 2021. The AFL season is still more than 100 days away, but footy has returned to Melbourne in the name of unity. A team from Richmond's Bashar Hooley Academy taking on the Maccabee Ajax community team.
You know, hopefully a day like today brings the two faiths together and we're able to connect by communicating, and sharing stories.
And for the record, Bashar's team took home the trophy. Well done to all. Sport is next with Jackie and Jack. The final pieces of the Aussie Test puzzle are coming together.
Hello, Mike. Yes, they are. Week and a half until the Ashes get underway. Coming up next, fresh details on when selectors will unveil the Aussie 11, but Tim Paine's replacement is still anyone's guess. Plus, the stark admission from a footy young gun, how Marcus Bontempelli is helping Jamara reach his potential. An Aussie underdog makes history in the Big Apple. And Melbourne victory back in a big way as a Brazilian soccer star takes the dive to a new low. Welcome back. Australian selectors will likely finalise the Aussie 11 for the first test in the next 48 hours. The race for Tim Paine's replacement is neck and neck, but a perfectly timed century today from Alex Carey could be the deciding factor.
10 days and counting until the first morning at the Gabba. Alex Carey may have timed his run to perfection.
I may not have scored any runs in the most recent Shield game, but I've got triple figures here.
A one-day century for South Australia as selectors remain torn on Tim Paine's replacement.
I think it's really still up in the air, so I'm sure that the selectors will be taking in all the information. That'll be something that will become clear, I would say, over the next few days.
Carey and the final members of Australia's Test squad will arrive in Brisbane tomorrow. Selectors keen to finalise the Aussie 11 before a 3-day Australia v Australia A clash starting on Wednesday.
We've got plenty of time before the first Test match, but I'm sure once they're clear, that'll be an announcement.
Pat Cummins getting a crash course in his added responsibilities as Test captain.
The conversations that will probably significantly change, clearly from JL to Pat. There'll be more engagement there. There'll be more involvement. They'll be spending a lot more time in the build. That'll be the big shift, the amount of time that Pat and JL spend together.
Matt Renshaw smashing an unbeaten 156 on a dominant day for Queensland with bat and ball.
Sandhu on a hat-trick, knocks him over. He does have another hat-trick.
There's only been 9 hat-tricks in Aussie domestic 50-over cricket. Gurinder Sandhu now has 2 of them just 3 years apart. Andrew McCormack, 7 News.
The Perth Test might still be in doubt, but a crowd of 15,000 was on hand to watch the Scorchers win their first WBBL title. South African Marizanne Kapp starred with bat and ball, including a maiden over against Strikers opener and wife Dane van Niekerk. Perth defended their 146-run total to win by 12 runs. Footy's newest bromance has sparked a pre-season to remember for Jamara Ugle-Hagan. Last year's #1 pick lapping up the guidance from Bulldogs captain Marcus Bontempelli as he sets his sights on Buddy Franklin's path to the top.
This time last year, Jamara Ugle-Hagan was borrowing jeans off Marcus Bontempelli for draft night.
He got me a pair of runners the other day, actually, because we in Gold Coast and just needed a new pair, and he just looked after me, which was unreal.
The big brother, little brother dynamic has only grown stronger this off-season. Ugle-Hagan and the dog skippers side by side for heat training through WA, Queensland and the NT.
You don't see him as like the bond. You see him as like your best mate, like your older brother, because he just pushes me so much.
Made to wait 17 weeks for his AFL debut and overlooked for finals, the number one pick's first year came with question marks over his fitness.
At the end of the day, it's who works the hardest and who did the work before you even walk in this season. And yeah, I reckon I walked in with obviously a step back from everyone else.
With expectations high, he's determined to live in the now.
Just enjoying the moment as well and not taking everything for granted, because it goes quick. All the boys are telling me, I'm like, no, it doesn't. Next minute, I'm already in my second year.
Josh Bruce's injury opening a berth in the forward line.
I want that spot to be mine. So honestly, that's why I'm working with Marcus, because last year I wasn't happy with my performance throughout the whole season.
Next on the agenda, more time with Lance Franklin after their brief meeting on debut.
I kind of just zoned out and was just happy that I got to hug him, and he's already done the journey that I'm trying to obviously start. But it's just great to have him there and just obviously still learn off him.
Mitch Cleary, 7 News.
Melbourne Victory's season continues to go from strength to strength with a 3-0 win over Brisbane Roar.
It's 3 for Victory. And Brisbane have been undressed once again. Amy Park, a wall of noise.
Last night, Melbourne City's Andrew Naboot put in an early contender for goal of the season.
First touch. Second was a bat. He bends it. What a goal. He's done it again. Andrew Naboot.
The stunning strike puts City 2 goals up at the hour mark against Adelaide United, but City couldn't close out the second half, conceding a pair of goals in the final 20 minutes to walk away with a 2-2 draw. In the Premier League, Liverpool is within a point of leaders Chelsea after a 4-0 win over Southampton. And Oscar nominations are due in February, and this Brazilian soccer star could find himself in the running.
He's cut down. Oh, dear.
Dear indeed. Like everyone else, the referee quickly saw through the time-wasting tactics. Australia has a new world champion after an upset that will go down in Aussie boxing folklore. George Kambosos Jr. was given a little chance against unbeaten American Teofimo Lopez, but the 28-year-old defied the hostile New York crowd to claim the world lightweight title via a points decision.
I'm not the king. You got your 4 kings. I'm the emperor because I come to every other country and I take them out one by one.
The victory is being described as one of the best performances in Aussie boxing history. We're getting close to those 2 weeks every 4 years to sit and wonder in awe, how do the Aussies do it at the Winter Olympics? Our athletes are dotted across the globe as preparations for Beijing 2022 hit full throttle.
In Ruka, Finland, Jakara Anthony and the Aussie Moguls team are flying.
Everyone really gets behind each other and supports each other and drives them to do their best.
It's a long way from the backyard trampoline on Victoria's surf coast. Australia goes to Beijing with genuine chances for double Moguls gold. Jakara, fourth at her first games 4 years ago at just 19.
That was worth coming over for.
Pyeongchang silver medalist Matt Graham is now the world number 1.
I can definitely play ball with all the big skis in the world, so definitely gives me a lot of confidence moving into the Olympic season.
One born in Cairns, the other New South Wales Central Coast. Now moguls of a sport most of us wince just watching.
Looks tougher than it actually is, especially on your knees. I think it's not actually as bad as everyone thinks, but you've got to be in pretty good shape to be going as hard as we are.
Even then,
Huge error.
They go through all this knowing it's all or nothing in Beijing.
We could have everyone put down their best performance and hopefully bring home a bunch of medals for Australia.
Matt Carmichael, 7 News.
Well, not bad on the knees. I'm still not sure about that. It still looks very painful.
Yeah, can you do that on a trampoline?
Can't do that at all, let alone on a trampoline.
OK, thanks, Jack. Melina is next with the forecast. And Mel, the lead up to our first day of summer is looking spectacular.
It is, Mike. We are warming up with blue skies and sunshine. I'll have all of those details right after the break. Summer arrives a couple of days early with warm sunshine over the next few days. The city made it to a sunny top of 22 degrees. Outside now still looking beautiful out there, 21 degrees. A high over Tasmania moves slowly eastwards tonight. It'll stall over the Tasman Sea and weaken tomorrow. The high is expected to gradually slip away over the coming days, allowing a slow-moving trough to develop over Western Victoria on Wednesday. That'll bring our next bout of wet weather later on Wednesday and into to Thursday. Around the nation for tomorrow, a shower or two in Brisbane, partly cloudy in Sydney, sunny in Canberra, Hobart and Adelaide, and we'll have plenty of sunshine in Victoria as well. That is thanks to some patchy morning fog. Oh, that's after some patchy morning fog in the south. The eastern ranges could just see some isolated afternoon showers. We'll have light winds with moderate afternoon coastal sea breezes. There's the chance of some fog early tomorrow morning over the suburbs, but that will clear for a sunny day up to 28 degrees in Yarra Glen, 24 at Rosebud and 26 at Frankston. And it's sunny in the city tomorrow, 11 overnight, then we climb to a sunny top of 26 degrees. The sunshine continues on Tuesday and we jump up to 29. Our first day of summer is looking hot with a top of 31, but it will be humid and showers are possible later in the day. We could see a shower or two on Thursday, but staying warm, 26 degrees. A shower or two on Friday, heading for a top of 20. A cooler 19 on Saturday, but staying dry and partly cloudy. And next Sunday is partly cloudy as well, 22 degrees. And plenty of sunshine in the city tomorrow, heading for a top of 26, Mike.
Sounds delightful. Thanks, Mel. And that's 7 News for this Sunday. I'll be back with updates later. For now, from the 7 News team, have a great night.